Hey y'all, this is Cowboy Mike. Thank you so much for watching. I remember when I was 8 years old, my dad and I were squirrel hunting in Michigan. And we sat for what seemed to be all day long. It was probably only about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I didn't have a whole lot of patience back then. Waiting on squirrels to show up. And this big, beautiful, I mean, to me it was a Boone and Crockett buck, probably just a little basket 8, but he shows up within about 30 yards from me. And I remember that feeling, my heart just about jumped out of my chest. And from that point on, that started a love affair and an obsession with whitetail deer.
I'm gonna get up in this deer stand here this afternoon. I've had a lot of good luck over the years. As a matter of fact, killed a really nice 10-point here last year. Let's get up in the deer stand and see if we can't catch up with one of those big bucks. Hey y'all, we just got back from a very successful hunt in Meriwether County. We didn't kill one of those big old gnarly Georgia bucks, but I was lucky enough to kill a really nice doe. So what we are doing today in the Cowboy Mike kitchen is all about venison, y'all. I have a beautiful venison tenderloin. Basically, in layman's terms, it's the back strap. It runs up and down the spinal cord of the deer. That's what we have right here. They had some really nice golden beets at the grocery store today. Organic, of course. We're all about organic, and some nice cauliflower. So today I'm gonna cook venison tenderloin medallions, pan-seared, a golden beet puree, and a port wine reduction, along with some roasted cauliflower. Let's get started, y'all. First things first, I gotta get these beautiful golden beets on a bowl. So I need to get a little water here. Anytime when you're cooking, ideally, things come out at the same time. I'm gonna try to do that. That's why I'm starting with these beets. I gotta get them boiling because they gotta be fort tender to make this puree. So we're gonna get this going here on a little heat. There we go. Now we're cooking with fire. I'm gonna go ahead and go to work on these beets right here and get them chopped up. The finer of a chop, you don't have to make these things on 1/2-inch dice or anything perfect like that. I just want them to boil quicker. So I'm gonna chop them fairly small so that it'll have a little bit more area, surface area for the water to get in contact with it. Therefore, it will boil faster. Not that you have to get in a big hurry, but again, it goes back to that timing thing. That's all I gotta do with these beets right here is just do a real rough chop on them. I don't know about y'all, but I do love beets just about any way. So what I'm gonna do with these things, I think y'all are really gonna like. You need to try this at home. I'm gonna make a beet puree, a little white wine, a little bit of garlic in there. It's gonna be wonderful with these venison medallions. So as soon as that water gets boiling, I'm gonna go ahead and throw those in there with nothing but a little bit of salt. Let's get this cauliflower prepped. All I'm gonna do with the cauliflower is a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, and some chopped garlic in there, and roast them at 425 degrees for about 25 minutes. We want them to get nice and brown. Obviously, all this is real cooking. I got stuff flying all over the place here. Cowboy Mike way of stripping and cleaning a cauliflower, whole cauliflower. That took all of about 35-40 seconds. That's ready. We're gonna throw that into a pan or into a bowl, mix it up with a little olive oil, salt, and pepper. That's it. I'm gonna go grab a roasting pan right quick so I can get these cauliflower going here in the oven. That's what's gonna take the longest in this dish. Again, it's gonna be in there for about 25-30 minutes until it's nice and golden brown. Very simple. You really want them, I guess I'd call it right side up, where you have the actual floret showing, not the stems, because that is what's gonna look the best. Very simple. Put a little bit of olive oil on there, A little bit of salt. Fresh cracked pepper, as always. And now I'm gonna just roughly chop just a little bit of garlic, give it that extra punch. A couple of cloves should be fine. Quick mash. They're clean. Not rocket science here. We're just cooking. And I love every minute of it. This, folks, is why I hunt. I love trophies, but I have not found a way to marinate an antler to make it tender enough to eat, nor would it taste good anyways. So this right here is what I love about hunting. I get to feed my family and enjoy the hell out of going out there and either catching that fish or harvesting that animal out in the woods and turning it into something delicious. That's what it's all about. And I know exactly where that meat came from. It doesn't get any more organic than that, folks. Again, very rough chop on that garlic. We're just gonna toss it in there a little bit. Mix this up. I'm gonna toss these guys in the oven right here at 425 degrees for about 25 minutes, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little more, but until they're golden brown on the tops. Get my hands dried off real quick, my trusty towel on my shoulder, and let's get to these beets. Water's boiling, and this is not the Hudson River, y'all. Our water in Georgia doesn't come flavored, so I'm gonna put a little salt in there. Dump these beets in there. Gonna cook them until they're fork tender, and that is it. Cauliflowers are roasting, beets are boiling. Now it's time to do this pork reduction sauce. We'll take a little bit of shallot. Go ahead and chop that in half. I'm gonna put a rough chop on this because I'm not actually going to use the shallot when I serve the sauce. I just want the flavor. So very rough chop on that. Couple cloves of garlic. Shocker. I like garlic in everything. I think that if they had garlic flavored ice cream, I'd probably be a big fan of it. I'm not gonna be pretty with this because I'm not gonna use the actual chunks of garlic. I just want the flavor in there. I'm gonna strain that sauce so it's very refined and very smooth. Quick chop on that garlic. Perfect. This is my little sauce, my stock reduction pan. And then I'm gonna get these shallots going. I'm not gonna throw the garlic in there with the shallots because if they cook the same amount of time or if the garlic overheats, they turn crispy and bitter. We definitely don't want that in this sauce. This is a very refined sauce. Which brings me to the whole point of this episode. Venison, this is why we're here. I'm gonna take this tenderloin and cut it into individual serving sizes of about 6 ounces, which is probably gonna be somewhere here and somewhere here. I don't think there's any food critics in my kitchen today, so it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. I can smell that shallot starting to brown a little bit, which tells me it's time to throw that garlic in there. A lot of cooking is smell. You really do exercise your senses when cooking. And that's part of it that I love so much. I mean, my whole family always used to tell me that I had a nose like a whitetail. I could smell my mom making Kool-Aid when I was 6 years old from the upstairs bedroom. It's amazing. I love the sense of smell. The sauce is very, very simple. I've got shallot, I've got garlic. They've got great color. You'll notice I'm not salting these vegetables right now, but I am gonna put a little bit of cracked pepper in them. This is a reduction. Reductions tend to turn salty as they reduce anyways, so we're gonna salt at the end when we taste it. The reduction is very simple. I like to use equal parts of beef stock, red wine, simple red wine, like a Merlot. If you can't drink it, you can't cook with it. That's as simple as that. And the third part being port wine. I have found that if you use all port wine, it's just a little bit too sweet for my taste. If you like it that way, use port wine, 100%. Doesn't matter to me. So here we go. First things first, beef stock. I use very accurate measuring tools, as you can see. That's just the way that I roll here. Red wine. Again, equal portions of all 3 ingredients. Port wine. We're gonna let that sit. We're gonna let that simmer until it reduces at least by half. It'll turn a little bit creamy, and in all these flavors between the shallot, the garlic, the beef stock, the port, and the Merlot are just gonna marry together and condense and intensify. And that's what gives it that reduced, intense flavor. I'm really starting to smell that cauliflower now. So let me go take a peek at these things and see how they look. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. We're just starting to get golden brown on the tips. Still has a little bit longer to go. I'm using an aluminum pan today because it doesn't take forever to get hot. I'll put this on the burner and within minutes it'll be searing red hot. A little bit of olive oil in the pan is all it takes. Oh yeah, that's what we're talking about. That's the sound that we want. I'm gonna get both sides browned real well. I'm gonna throw in a little bit of garlic and a little bit of rosemary just to infuse some flavor. Hit that in the roasting oven for just a few minutes until it reaches 135 degrees internally. I'm gonna do that with a thermometer this time. Get back in there. So garlic, again, garlic. I'm not even gonna chop this. All I want is some of the flavor in there. It'll mix in with the oils, and it'll mix in with the natural juices of that venison. That's ready. You see how we look on this backside. A sear pan will basically tell you when something is ready to flip or when it's already been seared on that side. When it releases from the pan without sticking, typically that means it's ready to flip. There we go. Beautiful color on these already. Super simple. We do not want to serve these things overcooked. Rosemary. Quick mash on the garlic. Good old Southern terminology. Cannot stress enough the fact that you do not want to serve venison of this caliber, tenderloins especially, overcooked. Never cooked more than medium rare. In these cases, I like to serve them rare because if you overcook this stuff, it gets very tough and the wild game flavors seem to intensify. 2 ways of cooking venison. Cook it till it falls off the bone, or if you have a beautiful tenderloin like this, serve it nice and rare. Oh yeah, our cauliflower is looking really, really nice now. I'm gonna get another pan on the heat here and get a little bit more shallots going here for my roasted beef puree. And this is a puree, so I don't have to do a real fancy chop on this either. Just a quick chop. A little more olive oil. And the shallots go in the pan. That's ready. Now in another minute or two, when these beets are nice and fork tender, I'm gonna throw them in there and saute that together just for a minute, mix in a little bit of white wine with it, and then hit them in the blender. It's been about 3 minutes roasting in the oven. Let's check on this venison. Oh yeah, that's looking really, really nice. I'm gonna get an internal temp on this real quick to make sure I'm not over about 135 because it's going to gain about 5 or 6 degrees during the resting process. And we let it rest because if you cut it too soon, the juices fall out of it and it gets dried out. All right, here we go, beets. Are you cooperative? Oh yeah, we're fork tender now. What I'm going to do real quick is strain the water off of these so I get them in that pan with those shallots. Here we go, we got a little heat on here. I don't per se want to brown these or give it any texture. I just want to marry these 2 ingredients together. A little salt, a little bit of fresh cracked pepper. And I'm gonna put a little bit of white wine in there. Let that reduce just a little bit to knock that fresh alcohol flavor off. How about you? Real cooking in this kitchen, y'all. That's just a little bit tangy, so let me grab a little bit of chicken stock real quick and knock down just a little bit of that wine flavor. Not much, just a little bit. I don't know about y'all, I like wine, so a little bit of wine flavor doesn't bother me. Get that to reduce for just a little bit, about a minute, minute and a half. Throw it in the blender and puree it. Ah, we lost one. I need a little bit more liquid, so I'm gonna go back to the chicken stock, add a little bit in there so we get the right consistency. That's perfect. That's just exactly what I want. Get a quick taste here. Oh yeah, dynamite. Now we get to start putting this thing together. I'm gonna grab the cauliflower real quick so I can start working on plating this dish. Oh yeah, that's perfect. And perfectly hot. I'm gonna go ahead and strain this reduction real quick so it's nice and clean for plating. The shallot and the garlic have done their work. I'm gonna grab a piece of venison real quick in my reduction and start putting this dish together. Perfect. Still pink in the center. Nice and rare to mid-rare. Absolutely beautiful. Put a little cauliflower on the side. And here we go, folks. Pan-seared venison medallions, golden beet puree, a port wine reduction, and some really nice roasted cauliflower. I promise you this is delicious, and I'm gonna go eat and enjoy the hell out of it right now. Without a doubt, this is what I enjoy the most about Game Table. I get to enjoy the fruits of our labors. I'm gonna dig into this right now, no hesitation. Get a little bit of that puree and some of that reduction. I'm gonna tell you right now, for those of you critics out there that think that wild game has a very distinct livery, irony taste, has not tried this. There is zero iron or game taste to it. It is absolutely delicious. The whole combination between the beet puree and the port wine reduction is phenomenal. I can't get enough of that. Let me get a little chunk of this cauliflower here. There's a little bit of crisp on the florets of that adds wonderful texture. Very intense garlic flavor. It is absolutely delicious. I totally dig what I do for a living, y'all. This is rewarding. And with any good venison dish, I like to wash it down with a little bit of wine. This happens to be a Malbec from Argentina. I believe it's about 2012. Thank you so much again, y'all, for tuning in to Game Table TV. For recipes and tips on cooking your wild game, check us out on Facebook at Game Table TV, on Twitter at Game Table TV, and shocker, our YouTube channel, Game Table TV. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Yeehaw. I'm going back in. Oh God, is this good? Y'all have to try this at home.